All right, so you see there's kind of a stripe down the center of her face, although it's not dead center in the face. It's right where the pencil is right now. And I lightly drew that directly onto the photo to help me to figure out where the center is of her face. And the 3/4, it's a little bit different because you've got more of one side of her face showing than on the other side. And what I'm doing there is I'm measuring. I'm taking my pencil and I'm measuring the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. And I've slowed this down so you can see it a little bit better. It's a method that is a basic form of sighting. And it can be used when you're drawing from a photo, but it could also be used when drawing from life. It's very similar. So I'm just measuring with my pencil end, and I place my fingers at the end of my measurements. You can see me doing it right there. I'm lining up that pink part of the eraser with the bottom of her chin, and I'm pinching at the top of her head. And the thing is, you want to compare multiple times so you double check your work. So here's the width of her face. So going from her cheekbone all the way to where the hair starts. And it's not her entire head, it's just the exposed part of her skin. And I'm going to go ahead and put a mark there so I have the height and the width. So this method is different from the other methods that I've shown you using a ruler and stuff like that. This is all just measuring. And it is important to measure when you're doing a portrait. You compare one thing to another. So now I'm getting the measurement on the nose, so I'm lining up the pink part of the eraser with the bottom chin, and I'm trying to get the nose in place. So I'm going to my paper, going to the bottom of the face and measuring to the nose. And I'll put a little mark there. And the thing is, like, you oftentimes have to double check this, so I'm remeasuring that again. So going to the bottom of the chin, you can see it right there, and I'm pinching right where the nose begins, and I'm going to transfer that over to my marks that I've already. Okay, so I'm moving that over, going to the bottom of the chin on my drawing where that mark is, and that's about where the nose should be. Now I'm going to triple check these later. So there's about where the bottom of the nose is. And I've put it a little bit more to the left-hand side because the nose is on the left-hand side of the face the way her head is turned. So here's how to measure the eye line. I'm going to show you that again. So it's from the top of the head, and I'm lining up my pink part of the eraser with the eye line and taking my measurement. So from between the eye line to the top of the head, and I'm going to go to my little mark for the top of the head, and I'm going to place that in. I'm moving it a little bit over so it lines up with the nose. And remember, the eyes are going to go above that line. So I'm double checking because it's always good to double check. Moving my eraser up, making sure my measurements are correct. Alright. So that's about it. You can see it pretty clearly, like from the pink part of the eraser all the way to the top of the head. That's my measurement. I'm going to take that to my little mark for the top of the head, transfer that, and then make a little mark below the pink part of the eraser there. And this is all really slowed down so you can see it. Okay, so we're going to make that eye line into an actual eye line there. So we're making a line, horizontal line, to represent where the eyes are going to be in the head. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the gesture of the overall head. The gesture is like the basic kind of outline, and it's supposed to be kind of energetic and free-flowing. It's not supposed to be perfect. So you'll see it looks kind of like rough and sketchy. It's not perfect, and I'm not drawing it all in one line. I'm just getting a basic suggestion for the outline of the face here. So right below the eye line is where the cheek starts to stick out. You can see it on the left-hand side of the face, especially because she's smiling. Her cheekbone is very prominent, sticking out. And what I'm doing there is I'm sighting the angle of the jaw, lining it up, and I'm transferring that angle. I'm keeping my wrist at that angle and transferring it to my paper. I'll do that with the other side of the jaw too. So on our right side. And I'm adjusting things. So at first it's going to look kind of rough. It's not exactly going to look like her. But then you work more on getting it to look more like the model. So here's that angle. I'm sighting it. That's about where it should be. And you see I double and triple check things, trying to make sure I get them as close as possible. And again, I'm looking at the area of her face mainly where the skin is showing. So I haven't gotten in the hair on the right hand side of the picture yet. So here's where I'm going to try and refine some of her face, and especially the cheek there, trying to get it to look like the image. And that refining process goes on like the whole way through the drawing. You're always tweaking things and adjusting things and discovering a mistake partway through. So I'm looking at the left side of her face, her cheek right now, and I'm looking at the curves on that cheek. Where does it kind of bow out? Where does it kind of sink in? And you look at them in relationship to other features. Like if you look at her mouth, to the left of her mouth, just below there's like a slight curve, so you want to make sure your drawing kind of matches up. Trying to get kind of the shape of the chin in there. And you'll see I'm doing lots of little adjustments. Checking that angle again. And it is important to check things multiple times. I sometimes check things like 4 or 5 times just to make sure I've got it correct. And that is a pretty common practice for most artists to check things and compare one thing to another. Like right now we're working on getting that neck, the angle of the neck there. And you want to see where the neck begins and where it ends on the face. So if you look at where the neck begins on the left-hand side, it lines up almost exactly with the middle of the chin. So I was looking at that as a guideline. And then you want to see where the neck ends on the right-hand side. So it ends right at the hairline, which is right near the jawline there. So included in this gesture, we're going to get the hair in there as well. So looking at her bangs, remember her bangs are not going to be plastered flat to her scalp. They're going to be a little bit above her scalp there. You can see I'm going pretty slow. I'm taking my time. I'm drawing it and making corrections as I go. So I'm measuring the hair there. So from about the eye line, right about the eye line, I'm measuring that hair. So where the side of her face begins to where the hair ends. You can see me doing it, and I'm double checking it, making sure I have it right, and it looks about right. So the 3/4 is a really hard pose to do. It is also one of the most popular. It's more intriguing, it's more inviting to a viewer than just a front view or a profile view. So we're trying to work in those bangs, and there I am setting the angle for the bangs. So again, hold your pencil up to the angle that you're looking at on the picture, you lock your wrist at that angle, and then you transfer that angle to your paper.